Okay, so we're gonna start seated. If possible, try to sit either kneeling, just kneeling like this, or if that's not comfortable, you can take a block or a cushion or something and put it between your feet and then sit on that. It's just gonna be easier for what we're gonna do in a minute to not be sitting cross-legged, I think, for most people. But we're just gonna sit for a moment first. And we're gonna start with a mudra. So this is called Mushtikam Mudra, which is kind of a cute sounding word. It's very simple to make. Actually, I'll come close to the camera so you can see my hands, but it's very simple. You're just gonna curl in 4 fingers of both hands and press the hands together at the middle joint of the fingers. And then base of the thumbs touch and both hands, both thumbs just stretch up. And you just hold the hands together like that. And just let it come down to maybe somewhere kind of in front of the solar plexus. Let the shoulders release down. And you can either close your eyes or just gaze down softly at the floor in front of you. And we're just holding this breath, holding this mudra for a few breaths, maybe 5 to 10 breaths, breathing in and out through the nose. So this mudra is for enhancing your determination and willpower and providing energy for change and growth. It also helps release the diaphragm, so the diaphragm can move more freely as you breathe. And we're just continuing to stretch both thumbs up. And with that stretching up of the thumbs, maybe thinking of lifting up through the spine a little bit more with each breath. One more breath. And after you exhale, you release the mudra and just press the palms together in front of the heart center for a moment. And then after a breath there, release the hands down. So we're gonna start seated with just some movement with the arms. And we're gonna end up folding forward a little bit on the floor. So when we get to that part, go ahead and let the arms come down first, so your hands are touching the floor, just to support the upper body as you fold. And then if that's enough of a fold forward, you just stay with the arms straight, or you might bend the arms a little bit to come down, but we're trying to fold forward with a straight spine when we do that. So, don't go too far. And we'll repeat this a few times. So it's going to be 4 movements on 2 breaths. So stretching the arms out to the side to begin with. Inhale, bring the arms up, palms facing in. As you exhale, drop the hands to the back of the head, cradle the back of the head, exhale, tilt the head back, looking up. Inhale, stretch the arms straight up again. And then exhale, start to fold forward. Let the hands come down right away, and then exhale any amount, folding forward, keeping the spine long. And we'll just repeat that a couple times. So sitting up again, arms out to the side, big inhale, stretching. And then exhale, just bend the elbows, cradle the back of the head, and tilt the head back, lifting the sternum a little bit. Inhale, stretch the arms straight up again. Exhale, starting to fold forward, letting the hands come down for support, and then maybe bending the elbows a little bit to come more forward. And then sitting up one more time. Inhale, arms out to the side. Exhale, cradling the back of the head. Look up, try to keep the elbows hugging in. Inhale, arms straight up again, reaching. And then exhale, hands down, fold forward any amount. And then finally coming back up to sit. So when we do a couple things later, we'll be folding forward again in different poses. And sometimes we'll have the support of, putting the hands down on something. Other times we're going to be trying to fold forward without the support of the arm. So we're going to work up to that. Here's Oreo. She likes to participate in yoga sometimes. So we're going to come on to hands and knees. And Brandon, it's Auntie Alice taking class. Do you want to say hi?
Hi.
She's on mute, so she can't. So we're going to come on to hands and knees. We don't need blocks quite yet. I don't know why I got the blocks up. And we're going to start in our tabletop. So shoulders over wrists, hips over knees, and we'll start with cow cat a few times just to get going. So arch the back, inhale, look up, and then as you exhale, round the spine, push the floor away, drop the head. We'll just continue with cow and cat a few times. So inhaling, arching the back, looking up, exhale, rounding, pushing the floor away. Inhale for cow, exhale for cat. Inhale for cow, exhale for cat. One more time like this, inhaling, and exhale for cat. This time, make sure your feet are pointed, and go right back to child's pose to rest for a moment, reaching the arms forward. Okay. And then coming up, making space for Oreo to go on the couch if she wants to. Okay, so we're going to come up to our tabletop again. And we're going to pick up the right knee out to the side. We're just going to do circles with the knee pointing out to the side. So just rounding through the hip joint, circling around. Maybe lifting the knee out to the side a little higher each time. And then at some point, just switch directions and go the other way a few times. Good. And then putting that knee down. Same thing on the other side. So left knee out to the side. And just circle it around. So for a lot of the class, we're working on moving forward and backward in space. So switch directions with your knee circles. But we can't always stay with forward and backward motion because we have to let the body do some other things sometimes. So we're going to do side to side movement sometimes. So coming back to table. Now just let the hips swing side to side and let the body curve side to side. So from a bird's eye view, it would look like your spine is making a kind of like a C shape to one side and the other. Just a few times. And then coming back to center, we're going to stretch that right leg back. So straight back. And then pick it up off the floor, pointing the toes. The leg is about parallel to the floor. You can also reach the left arm forward. If it's hard to balance, you can always put the hand down and do everything with just the leg moving. So we're going to have the lifted limbs parallel to the floor. That's the starting position. So inhale, reach long from the fingertips to the toes. And then exhale, lift up a little bit. Inhale, come back to parallel to the floor. So it's not a huge movement. Exhale up. Inhale, parallel, reaching long. Exhale, up. Inhale, parallel to the floor. One more time. Exhale up and bend the knee So your toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. And then take the left hand and see if you can reach around and hold on to the right foot. If it's hard to reach, you just keep reaching the hand back there all the time, lifting the right foot up any amount more. And another breath. And then release everything to the floor. And you can go back to child's pose for a couple breaths to rest before we do the other side. I'm just wondering if there's a way I can make your screen bigger for me so that I can see you more. Oh, I can. Oh, I just did it. Yay. Because I was big and you had the little screen. Now it's the opposite, so I can actually see what you're doing better. Good. Okay. So now we're going to do the other side. So same way, starting from table, stretch the left leg back and lift it up off the floor, pointing the toes. And then right arm reaches forward. So everything's parallel to the floor, reaching long, inhale. And then exhale, lifting up slightly, lift the arm and the leg, good. Inhale, back to parallel. Exhale up. Inhale, parallel. Exhale up. Inhale to parallel. And last time on this exhalation, we're going to stay up. Just continue to breathe. Point the toes and bend the knee. So your legs start, your toes to go up towards the ceiling, and then take the right arm around and see if maybe you can grab onto that foot. And then once you have a hold of it, try to lift the foot up towards the ceiling. Continuing to breathe. And then finally release. Put the hand down, put the knee down. And once again, take a short child's pose. Good. So now we're going to come back up to our tabletop. Shoulders over wrists to start with. And then coming to high plank, stretch one leg straight back, the other leg straight back. And then push the hips up and back to come to your downward facing dog. Just taking a couple breaths in your down dog. From here, let's start bending both knees and pushing back. So pushing with the arms to feel like you're pushing back towards, almost like you're squatting towards the back of your mat. Push back as much as you can, and then put the knees down. And then we're going to come to puppy pose. So you might have to walk the hands a little further forward so that you can bring the upper body down in line with the arms. So it's just like a down dog, only the knees are down, so it's puppy pose. And then coming forward, bend the elbows so the forearms go down to the floor. Bring the shoulders forward so they're over your elbows. And then stretch the legs back again for a moment. Come to a forearm plank. And then we're going to cinch around the core, holding firm as we lower the belly all the way down to the floor, tilting the face and sternum up. So you end up in Sphinx pose. Yes. Good. So from here, we're going to transition from Sphinx to Cobra to Locust. So from Sphinx, have your toes pointed, pressing the tops of the feet down to the floor. The forearms are still down. Looking forward, inhale. On your exhalation, you're going to actually pick the hands up and slide them back. So the upper body goes down towards the floor a little bit, but you're still holding it up a little, not just face planting to the floor. Slide the hands back until they're beside your lower ribs. And then inhale up to Cobra. Just a small Cobra. Good. And then exhale, release down. Again, holding yourself up away from the floor a little bit. Reach the arms forward. Inhale up, Locust. So now the legs also come up. Stay here for your exhalation. And the next inhale, bend the elbows and slide the elbows back by the low ribs to come to Sphinx again. Just to Sphinx, so the forearms are down, yes. Okay, let's go and do the whole thing one more time. So inhale in your Sphinx. Exhale, release enough so you can slide the hands back. So you come down towards the floor a little bit, hands by the lower ribs, shoulders down and back. Inhale up, cobra. Exhale, release. Inhale, stretch the arms forward and lift everything up for locust. Stay for your exhalation. Inhale, slide the elbows back. Coming to Sphinx for a moment, and then swivel the elbows out, hands together, fold one hand on top of the other, and rest the head down on your folded hands. And here you can wiggle the hips and legs side to side a little bit, just to release. Good. So we're going to stay in this position for just a couple more moments. We're going to come up onto the forearms again, like you're going to do Sphinx. And then just take your, let's see, we're going to start on the right side. So your left forearm is going to come across the mat. So you're propping yourself up on your left arm. So it's almost like you're in a Sphinx in the upper body. Then you're going to bend the right leg, reach back with the right hand, and see if you can grab that foot. And this time the foot can come in, like you're trying to squeeze the heel down to the buttock. Yes. So that's all we're doing. We're just doing a quad stretch. So if you turn a little bit to grab onto the foot, that's normal, that's fine. What we're going to try to do now, though, is turn the chest forward again. So just doing that maybe increases the stretch on the quad. Any amount you can lift the face and chest up might also increase the stretch on the quad. So finding a place where you can get a nice, comfortable stretch. You don't want it to be unpleasant, but you want it to feel like it's opening up there. And if the hip crease on the right side has lifted away from the floor, trying to press that down towards the floor. One more breath, and then release the right foot. And then switch sides. So now the right forearm will just be there to prop you up. Bend the left knee and squeeze the heel in. Reach back with the left hand and grab onto the foot or the front of the ankle. Again, hugging the heel down towards the buttock. Any amount trying to turn the chest completely forward. Lifting the head and chest up any amount. And also noticing if the left hip crease popped up away from the floor. Just trying to let that release back down towards the floor. Good. And then slowly release. And you can fold the hands in front of you again and rest down for just another moment. And then we're going to push all the way up to tabletop once again. Have your fingertips close to the front of the mat. And we're going to come all the way back to our downward facing dog. So both legs back. And then hips up and back to your down dog. And take a couple breaths in your down dog. Maybe pedaling out the feet. So one heel presses down as the other knee bends. All the time pushing through the arms so you're lengthening the spine up and back, lifting the sitting bones any amount higher. And now let's take a walk towards the front of the mat. So keeping both knees bent, just start to walk forward towards your hands. You can also walk the hands back towards the feet. Coming to a forward bend. So at first, we're going to keep the knees bent. Feet can be a little wide apart. And we're just dangling over the legs. So let the head release. Shake out the head, yes and no. And fold the arms so you're holding on to opposite elbows. Yes. And just releasing the weight of the arms and the head. And then release the arms. I'm going to come up by sitting back. So bend the knees even more so you're sitting further back. Lift the head. Place the hands on your legs above the knees and push yourself up to stand from there. Good. Finally coming up to stand. So, Alice, you have yoga blocks, right? Yes, I think that's what I see on the floor. So you might want to have them close to the front of the mat. So they're within reach if you need them. Eventually, we will probably use them on the high position. So maybe you could put them that way to begin with, and then we can always adjust. So standing in Tadasana, close to the front of your mat. Reach the arms out to the sides as you inhale and sweep the arms all the way up. And exhale, fold forward, reaching for the floor. Or you can use your blocks here. Inhale, halfway up, touching the fronts of the legs, and exhale, fold forward again. Hands on the floor. Inhale, step your right leg all the way back to a long lunge position. And then exhale, drop the right knee to the floor and untuck the right toes so your toes are pointed. So we'll start by just coming up, hands on top of the front knee, just to set up for a crescent lunge. So you can always stay with the hands down on the knee for a crescent lunge and use the hands to push. So you're doing maybe a slight back bend. Or if you have your balance, you can also inhale the arms up and reach all the way up and back in your crescent lunge. Good. And then exhale, hands down to the floor, either side of your front foot. So just a few times we're going to shift back and forth. So inhaling, shift the hips straight back. And then exhale, come forward again. So just a few times going back and forth without worrying too much about straightening the front leg. We're going to do that in a second. Just going back and forth. Good. And then the next time you come back, if the front leg is not completely straight, just push that front foot a little more forward. Good. Hands on the floor. Inhale, lifting the spine up a little bit so you can straighten the spine. And then on your exhale, folding forward any amount over that front leg. Good. And then inhale, bend the front leg so you're coming forward again. So you might have lengthened out your lunge a little bit. Try to come forward enough that the front knee is over the front ankle. Good. So now we're just going to stay here for a moment and think about what we can do in this position to open the front of the right thigh. So we did it already when we were lying on the belly on the floor. So we're going to try to do it a little more here. So there are different ways we can do it. We can just come up to our crescent lunge again, hands on the front knee, and then concentrate on letting the pelvis slide down and forward a little bit. Yes, you might start to feel the stretch there. Other ways we can do it, which are maybe a little more painful, or hopefully not painful, but a little more intense. If you have like a cushion or something, I don't know if you have something handy like this. If you have foam blocks, you can also do it with a foam block. Yeah, so you come to the same position with the right leg back. And then you tuck the back toes at first so you're actually the leg is straight up off the floor. And then place the cushion so that when you come down, it's under the thigh. Yes. Yeah, so you want to use the cushion to lift the back leg up away from the floor a little bit. So it's just a way to kind of increase the stretch. Then you come up again with the upper body. So just by lifting the upper body, we're also increasing the stretch on that thigh. So just a couple breaths. Again, trying to slide the pelvis down and forward. Thinking of the right hip crease opening up any amount. Good. And then finally, put the hands back down on the floor, tuck the back toes, and straighten out the back leg. So you don't need the cushion or anything underneath your leg anymore. We're going to come up to warrior one now. So first, plant the back foot. It can move out a little bit to the side and come all the way down to the floor. You might need to bring it in a little bit closer also. And then push into the front leg. Keep facing forward in warrior one. So you can have space between the feet side to side if you need to. So we're going to be trying to face forward. So a little bit of space there helps that happen. And then finally, inhale the arms up. And we'll stay here for a breath. And then next exhalation, start to reach forward. You can come onto the ball of the back foot and reach for those blocks in front of you. You might need to move them a tiny bit closer. Continue shifting forward so the weight comes over your front leg. And we're going to come to a supported warrior three. So the back leg comes up off the floor. Yes, so the foot is flexed. The toes are still going down towards the floor. Good. Now, next step is optional. If you want, you can go to a standing splits. So you might put the blocks on a lower height, or you might reach all the way down to the floor and try to lift the back leg further up. And here you can point the toes, reaching further up. Good. Now, keeping the right leg really, really long, start to bend your standing leg so the right leg goes back, 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 and finally lands all the way back on the floor, all the way behind you. Still hold on to those blocks. Walk them in. Walk them so they're framing your front foot now. Yes, yeah. Now we're going to try to push the hips straight back and try to straighten the front leg. So you can walk the blocks back to whatever point you need them to be. Yes, and the back foot, if you need the back heel to be up, you can leave it up. But if possible, try to rotate the foot down so the whole foot of the back, the whole sole of the back foot is down. Good. So once again, we're going to inhale, lifting up, straightening the spine, and then exhale, fold over the front leg any amount. Good. Inhale, straighten the arms. I'm going to engage the quads here by lifting the kneecaps of both legs, reaching the spine forward. Here's where we're going to try to lift all the way up. So we're standing all the way forward. Inhale, arms up, stretching tall. And then exhale, reach the arms forward, 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 forward as you fold. And whenever you need to, you can put the hands back down on those blocks. Good. Bend the front knee. Walk the hands forward so the blocks can go off or go towards the top of the mat. But now put your hands on the floor either side of your front foot. Swivel onto the ball of the back foot and step the back foot forward. So coming back towards the top of the mat. Stay here for a moment in a forward fold. And then bend the knees. And we're coming up to stand once again. So you can roll up or you can push into the legs as we did before. Either way to come up to stand. Good. Coming back to your mountain pose. Inhale the arms out and up. And exhale, fold forward. Inhale halfway up. And exhale, fold again. Inhale, step the left leg back. And yeah, you can still have your hands on the floor for this. We're going to go down to a lunge, yes. And drop the back knee to the floor. And then bring the hands up to the front knee. We're going to do our crescent lunge on this side. So you can just stay with the hands down, or inhale, reach the arms up, and maybe tilting slightly back, lifting the chest up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, hands down. We're going to inhale, shift the hips straight back, and just go back and forth a couple times. Exhaling forward, inhale back. So at first, we're not worried about straightening the front leg or anything. We're just going back and forth a couple times. Good. And then next time you go back, check to see if you can straighten the front leg. If necessary, you can push the front foot a little bit forward. Good. And then once you have that front leg straight, inhale, lift the spine, lift the torso, lengthen the spine. Yeah, hands are still down, and then exhale, fold forward. You can also use your blocks here if you need them. No, I don't think you do. And just fold over the front leg, any amount. Good. Now, inhale, come forward, bend the front knee again. And then we're going to spend a few breaths working on releasing the front of the left thigh a little bit. So it can be the same way we did before. You can just come up, hands on top of the front knee, trying to let the pelvis sink down and forward. If you feel like you could use a little more, that's when you take the cushion or bolster, and place it underneath the left thigh so the leg is lifted off the floor a little bit. Yes, you got to kind of pin it down with your knee at the far edge. The knee needs to, come up a little bit from the floor as well to really get any additional stretch on the quad. And then once you have that, you can either stay with the hands down, or you can try coming up with the hands on the front knee again. Lifting the head, chest, shoulders. Maybe pushing a tiny bit back towards a tiny back bend, stretching the front of that thigh. Good. One more breath, and then we'll release the hands down. Tuck the back toes and straighten that back leg, and you can move the cushion out from underneath. And then we'll come to our warrior one on this side. So first, placing the back foot all the way down. So it's maybe a little bit more out to the side. Toes are angling forward. Front knee is bent. And then still facing forward. Come all the way up. You can kind of walk your hands up the front leg to warrior one, reaching the arms up. One more breath. And then exhale, hands down onto your blocks. Yeah, so reaching forward, swivel onto the ball of the back foot, and maybe pushing a little bit with the back foot, shift the weight forward. You might need to walk the blocks more forward as you come up. You don't want yeah, that's good. And then the back leg can come up to your supported warrior three. At first, the toes are going down towards the floor because the foot is flexed. Back of the heels lifting up. And then optional here, either turning the blocks to a lower height or reaching the fingers down to the floor. Lifting the back leg up any amount more. Letting the upper body drip down a little bit. Standing splits. One more breath. And then hands on the blocks, reach that left leg further back as you bend the standing leg. So it's going way back. And finally coming all the way down to the floor, yes. And you can walk the blocks back in so they're right beside your front foot. So they're either side of the front foot, yeah. And then we're coming to our Parsvottanasana on this side. So here we're going to shift the hips back, straight back so the front leg can straighten out. Hands can stay on the blocks. Big inhale to lift and lengthen the spine, reaching forward, and then exhale, folding forward any amount over the front leg. Good. And then coming up, we're going to try to stand all the way up. So if you feel like you might hyperextend in the knees a little bit, you can soften the knees, bend the knees a little bit, and try to lift the upper body all the way up to stand. And then inhale the arms up. And then slowly start to fold forward, reaching the arms long, long, long forward. Coming down any amount, and whenever you need to, you can release the hands down to the blocks again and continue folding. Good. And then bend the front knee, swivel onto the ball of the back foot. Bring the hands down to the floor. Now we're going to step back to downward facing dog. So front foot steps back to down dog. And finally release the knees down to the floor and push back to child's pose. Good. And for this child's pose, if you want to, you can bring the arms back alongside the body and flip onto the backs of the hands so the palms are up, fingers reaching the same direction as your toes, and then let the shoulders relax so the shoulders kind of round down towards the floor a little bit, just releasing them. Good. And then one or two more breaths in child's pose, and then we're going to come up to sit. So when you're ready, use the hands to help push you up to sit, and then sit off to one side and swivel the legs around in front. Yeah, and just stretch the legs out long in front of you, yeah. So we're just going to fold forward over the legs. First, we're going to use our arms to push into the floor a little bit, to lift and lengthen, to make sure we're sitting up nice and tall. Inhale the arms out to the side all the way up. And then once again, like we've done before, reaching the arms as long as possible, and then bringing them down when we need to hold on to the feet or ankles, wherever you reach. Good. And then exhale, just reaching forward. And then finally, bring the hands down to the floor outside the legs, walk the hands back, coming up to sit. And then scoot yourself forward and grab your blocks and just put them kind of to the side of the mat. We might use them in a moment. So just to one side. And then come to lie down on your back. And hug the knees in. You can either just stay hugging the knees in if that feels really good for your lower back, or if you'd like to come to happy baby, we'll lift the feet up, separate the knees wide, and then bend the knees down and hold on either to the outer edges of the feet, or if you need to hold behind the knees, you can do that. Either way, you're just hugging the knees down towards the floor any amount. Good. And then finally, release the feet and bring them down to the floor. Knees bent, feet and legs hip width apart. And we're going to come up to one regular bridge. So look straight up towards the ceiling, palms pressing down into the floor. And then when you're ready, just push into the feet and lift up to any height, bridge. Take a breath. And then slowly release all the way down to the floor. We're going to do one more bridge. And this one, let's try a supported bridge. So this is when you might need your block, or you definitely need your block or something to put under you. You're going to lift up into your bridge again, and then take a block and just put it underneath the sacrum so that you can rest down on the block. And then you're in your supported bridge. You can either stay just like this, or you can try straightening the legs. So one leg at a time, just reach it forward until it's straight. Check to make sure that feels okay on your back. And then try with both legs stretching out. And really reach away with the legs so they don't just flop down. They're really active, reaching away. Take in a couple breaths just like that. If everything seems to be okay in the back, you can also reach the arms overhead. So reaching really long, super long body position and actively reaching with the arms and the legs away from each other. Good. And then when you're ready, bring the arms down alongside you again. Bend the knees. Push into the floor to lift the hips up. And take the block out. And kind of come all the way down to the floor again. And then separate the feet even more apart. So they're maybe about as wide as your yoga mat. And then we're just going to do a gentle twist by just dropping the knees side to side. So the feet stay apart, so the knees are not in line with each other. They're kind of out of alignment with each other, but that's okay. Just kind of a gentle twist. And you can go back and forth a few times, or if it feels maybe nicer to just stay on one side for a couple extra breaths, just stay there. And then do the same on the other side. And then finally bring the knees up to center, and we'll set up for Shavasana. I always like to hug my knees in towards the chest one more time before Shavasana. If that sounds like a good idea, you can do that. And then we'll just straighten the legs out on the floor. Just like before when we were in a supported bridge, at first keep the legs really reaching away. So actively reaching away. And then when they're reached to their maximum, then let them relax. So the feet might roll open a little bit. Arms down, close to your sides, but not touching. Turn the palms up. Take a moment to just notice if anything doesn't seem quite right. Maybe you need to roll your shoulders open more. Maybe tuck the shoulder blades closer together on the back. Make any of those adjustments first so you can really start to come to stillness. And then we'll do centering breath a couple times. In through the nose and softly out through the mouth. And then go back to breathing in and out through the nose as you sink further into your Shavasana. releasing all unnecessary effort. And then once again, deepening the breath. Take some longer breaths. And then start to wiggle your fingers and toes. Stretching out along the floor any way that seems right. And when you're ready, bend the knees and roll over onto one side. And then whenever you're ready, you can push yourself up to sit. Let's bring the hands together in front of the heart. Take a moment to breathe. Feeling the heart lifting towards the hands as you inhale. And then as you exhale, let the head bow down towards the heart. Namaste. And thank you so much for doing class with me. I'm going to officially end the class and then we'll be in